Nerd to the Third Power presents Fools Who Ride. The Dreamstone, Part 7.
Hello, my friends and adventurers. It is I, your Game Master, Mike the Birdman Dodd, and this is Nerd to the Third Power's Adventures in Dungeons & Dragons, Fools Who Ride the Dreamstone. And, well, it's been a little while since we've had a chance to record one of these. A little bit of behind-the-scenes info. Basically, life got in the way. Some details may get lost in the shuffle. But thanks to our intrepid Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo, he was able to refresh me moments before this recording, so hopefully my memory is relatively intact. And we'll see how things go for our adventures today as we begin to ramp things up or wind things down, depending on how you want to look at it. We have returned to the Forgotten Realms of Faerun and our adventures. When we last left them, they had just gotten on a boat with their accomplice, Thera, who is sort of this pirate queen, basically sassy lady of the seas, and they had gotten some information and they were heading towards the Cloakwood, just a little bit to, it doesn't matter, it's close enough to Cambridge to be close, but far enough away to be, well, it's going to take us a little while to get there, probably about a day and a half trail, but anyway, geography doesn't matter, much like the points. We are here to join our adventures, and as we go around the table, I'm going to start with the lady from St. Louis,
Kat Thompson.
And of course, gotta get our resident Brett.
Hello, I'm Skyblaze.
Yes! And we are also joined by the guy who started this entire endeavor,
Dr. Gonzo.
All right, so cool, guys. As we return to our adventures, we are speeding away from the Smuggler's Island aboard Thera's vessel. It's probably getting later on in the afternoon, if I remember, going in towards the evening. The ship is speeding away. Nobody seems to have noticed you have left, or at least if they do, they don't care. And things are quiet aboard the deck of Thera's ship as you can just hear the waves and the water kind of making noise in and around the vessel. Deckhands are doing their own sort of thing. There's a general sense of unease because a lot of people are thinking that went a little too easy for everyone's liking. So what do you people do first?
So
Mike, do you want us to introduce our characters?
Yes, please reintroduce your characters for the listening audience.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm playing Marcus Hawk, a level 3 human knight.
I'm playing Lenore Longfellow, a level 3 human plague doctor cleric.
I'm playing Alisaria Sunshadow, a high elf paladin, also at level 3.
Okay. So just to make sure that I've got our cards right.
Yes.
We have a town suffering from insanity-inducing nightmares because of a relic that was stolen by a rogue knight who wanted to bring back his dead family under the advice of a rogue mage from another kingdom that will go to war with the first kingdom if they discover that said rogue mage was selling magical talent to the first kingdom. And now we're headed into the Cloakwood to try and do battle with Clovis and a demon prince and an army of the undead. Have I got everything right so far?
And all at level 3. No big deal, guys.
Good. I thought this was going to be complicated.
What's the worst that can happen?
Everything. Literally everything he just said is the worst that can happen.
Yeah, well, you haven't been with me and Alisaria for as long as we have. For us, this is Tuesday.
Oh, this is
a very scary Tuesday.
the worst.
Right.
There was that incident with the beholder and the custard pie. That was a very complicated day.
Ugh,
Well,
yeah.
custard always complicates things, really.
All right, so we need a plan of attack. How are we gonna do this?
Attack. Just gonna go to the old Robert Downey Jr. School of Plans of Attack.
What do we know about the Cloakwood?
Spiders, lots of spiders. That's all I know.
Well, if somebody wants to roll me a knowledge nature check or just a general knowledge check, let's see what you know.
I've got a bonus.
All right, what stat is that against? Let me pull up my character sheet.
Nature.
That should
Oh,
be...
I rolled a 5. 5. Just ignore me. Total of 8, but still, I
know
There are
about the Cloakwood.
trees.
It has trees and plants in it.
Okay, I rolled a 13 with +2 to intelligence. That's 15 total.
Whew.
Okay, so the Cloakwood is located a little bit towards the east of the city, towards the coast. The Cloakwood, it is considered a magical forest, which means it does have a large degree of magical creatures. It does have indigenous orc tribes, though they mostly leave Cambridge alone. There is a loose truce between them and Cambridge. Basically, we'll provide trade, you leave us alone, and don't be a douchebag, more or less. There have been rumors of people setting up shop in there, basically like bandit camps, because it is so close to the coast, so it's not unusual for people who want not to be found to be in there. And there are some local legends that the Cloakwood did serve as kind of a holy site for various druidic tribes at one point. But nobody really knows much about that beyond the druids themselves. And that's all you really know about it.
And spiders.
It does have
spiders.
and lots of freaking spiders. It does also have an unusually bloody past as well. There have been lots of battles fought in there, though not a lot of bodies have been recovered out of there. The force just seems to eat them up, so to speak.
Spiders. Can you tell where in Baldur's Gate I wound up getting stuck? All right. So we need a plan of attack. We can't. We know that he has an undead army. We can't just go charging in blindly, or else we will get slaughtered. So,
Really, we need to scout the place, but how do we do that without control?
there's also the issue of who can we go to for backup. I mean, I could try talking to the Fireforge dwarves, see if I can't parlay my familiarity with their clan to get us some support. But those dwarves,
three of us against an undead army is pushing out.
Well,
yeah,
the paladin and the cleric, obviously, we're going to have some firepower, but
yeah, and those dwarves are only laborers; they're not warriors, so their willingness to fight is suspect.
Are we genre savvy enough to think that if we just cut off the head, the body will disperse? That if we just take out the leader, then the rest will fall?
I think Alisari would have more knowledge of how undead armies work than you or I.
Well, maybe. So, can we...
That was a hint to roll an intelligence check.
Well, yeah, so can...
I'm getting out my dice, leave me alone.
Can Alisari and I both roll, let's see, what would be a good stat? Some sort of check to see if either of us would understand enough about undead to know that if we just kill one thing, that it would take out all the undead.
Sure,
What
you can roll that.
Religion, Arcana?
I would say either or is applicable. Religion might be a little harder, but Arcana might be a more applicable thing here.
We are both religious figures, so I'm sure we both have higher bonuses in religion.
Yeah.
Okay, roll it.
Mine's a measly +2.
Oh, why? Why did I just... This is the second 5. That is a bad dice. That dice is going away. It's a bad dice. I am definitely one of those people who believes in dice curses. So that's going in my dice jail.
The person I know who had the worst dice luck I have ever seen used to take his dice into the back garden if they misbehaved and smash them with a rock. And he'd line up the other dice so that they could see, and it would be an example to the other.
This is like off tangent, but I have a dice jail that is... It's like a dice shaker, but I use it as a dice jail, and it is a T-Rex skull.
Nice.
That my friend 3D printed for me, because this is how extra my usual D&D games are.
That sounds about normal for D&D groups, to be perfectly honest.
Remind me sometime off recording to tell you about my buddy Hambone and some of the antics he gets up to with his dice. He's the one who made the Ninja Star dice.
Oh yes. So anyway, maybe Skyblaze could actually get a good roll out of this, because
that's a 14.
Okay, so thinking back through your religious studies and training, it would be reasonable to assume, because this may be linked to some kind of a demonic entity, if you get rid of the representation on this plane of existence, that whatever armies is being controlled by the demonic force, once it dissipates on this realm of existence, the undead armies may simply scatter, they may simply do nothing, or they may just stop. So the theory of cutting off the head and the body will wither is not an unreasonable one.
So if we can kill or banish the demon, we might be in with a chance.
Of course, then the problem becomes now getting to it, because we got that army of undead between us.
Yes.
So while
I can try talking to the dwarves, and I've got pull with the daughter of the Lord. I can maybe see to it that she rewards them appropriately for their efforts. But again, that's still a shot.
A lot of time.
As you say this, Thera kind of walks out of her cabin, walks past your group, kind of sits on a crate beside you, and sits down and says, "You keep saying undead army. What intelligence leads you to believe this guy has an army?"
I was wondering the same thing out of character, because
out of character, when we were interrogating Kat, you had cast a speak truth spell, so he could not lie to us, and he told us about the undead army.
It depends on what he means by they mean by army, though.
Well,
because
again,
it could be, we're talking 10 guys, 50 guys, 100 guys, 1,000 guys,
or one just really powerful guy.
That's a question. Can a speak truth spell also prevent someone from exaggerating?
A good question.
I'm genuinely asking because I don't know.
I'm giving you the GM answer of a good question indeed.
All right.
Because if it's something they think that's an army, in their not particularly intelligent informed opinion, then that was what they would say. To somebody who's actually had meta military training, they'd go, "Yeah, that's like squadron."
Okay, I pulled out my notes that I had taken, and my notes, because I'm smart and I take notes, but I didn't bring my notebook with me, so I had to stop and go get it. My note says Clovis in the Cloakwood. Oh God, that sounds like a good title for something. Clovis in the Cloakwood. Undead.
That sounds like a folk metal album, actually.
Yes. But my next note says undead 50 to 60. So okay. I'm assuming that's the army.
So my military training says platoon strength at least. Which means no, not something that we're going to be able to handle on our own.
50 to 60 undead. That's a small army, but an army-ish.
What about a distraction? What if we can lure the bulk of the forces away somewhere else?
That's an idea. Again, that would require outside assistance, though.
Not necessarily. A little magic goes a long way.
I do have a minor illusion spell.
Will that last long enough for us to get the job done, though?
Well, it only has to last long enough to get them far enough away that we can kill the other guy.
If the undead we're talking about are zombies are fairly slow, but... I'm looking at my spells to see if I could get something figured out.
Thera she pulls out a pipe and starts smoking and says, "Well, there's only 3 of you. Why not just flank them and get behind this so-called army? They're not going to detect 3 of you. You are walking there with a regiment. You're going to have a fight on your hands. They're not going to notice 3 of you."
It's a matter of tapping ourselves out before we have to go fight a demon god thing.
And Clovis is also a trained knight. He's not going to be, if he's worth his salt, which given what we heard from the king and queen, he's not going to be stupid enough not to keep his flanks unguarded.
But he also may be mad with grief. This is a guy who lost his family too. Count on him being irrational and over emotional.
That's true.
Also, it depends on how well controlled these undead are, mean, from what I understand, undead, as the general rule, unless they're greater undead, aren't terribly smart. So you have to micromanage them quite a bit.
Wait a minute, hang on. There's something that I totally missed here. There's orc tribes living in the Cloakwood. Maybe if we reach out to them, they might be able to give us some more information.
Once again, how much time do we have? Do we
Well,
have
we're gonna be
time to muster an army?
I'm not talking about mustering an army. I'm just talking about getting some more firsthand information. Given if any of the tribes are in close proximity enough to that area, they might be able to tell us about, have they seen any zombies roaming around, any skeleton warriors, any we might be able to get a little bit more of a clearer picture of what actually is going on.
We could run into an undead army on our way to finding orcs.
Yeah.
We should have a plan just to take them out.
What if we sneak in under an illusion spell? If I can try and hold things long enough to sneak us in as something innocuous.
How long does it last?
It's
Would it be
time 1A. I don't know what that means.
I think that's a sustained
That's a casting
action.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one action.
So I can just keep it ticking over.
All right.
As far as I interpret it.
Do you think you could keep it up long enough for us to get at least to the outside edge of wherever Clovis is and do it so that we can scout it out and see what we're up against?
We have no grasp of how far that is.
Yeah,
Well,
you don't have a map of the Cloakwood.
Hey, does Thera happen to have a map of the Cloakwood?
She
I will ask Thera.
says, Thera looks around and goes, I don't, but I might have somebody on my crew who does. So she kind of takes another long drag off her pipe and goes, give me a few minutes. She heads back to her quarters.
Look, the DM is throwing us a bone and I'm just taking it.
Yep.
So after a few minutes, she emerges with another crew member. This one appears to be some sort of a half orc. He looks kind of like a rough and tumble kind of guy, like he's seen some action. And
is this the guy who took my 10 gold pieces?
No. This guy kind of sits down with Thera, goes, the captain says you'd be looking for some information about the Cloakwood. What do you need to know?
General layout of the land. Where, if you were a rogue knight raising an undead army, where would you stash it in the Cloakwood? That kind of thing?
He says the Cloakwood is extremely deep and thick, especially the further in you go. There are some ruins towards the center of the wood. There's an old battlefield not too far away from it where the ruins are situated. If I were to set up shop, that's where I go, but the area is thick with will-o'-the-wisps and whites, so that's where I'd go.
Are the whites native to the Cloakwood, or are they?
Yes, they are the lost souls who perished during one of the last battles in there.
Assuming that you don't run into all of those terrible things that you just said on your way to the ruins, about how long and far is that?
Probably half a day's ride.
Okay.
And where's the nearest village to those ruins?
That would be Cambridge itself.
What about the orc tribes living in the woods?
They're
Are they nomadic?
They
nomadic.
keep moving.
Okay. All right.
But they know enough to stay away from the old bone fields.
Okay. If one were to try and get in touch with one of these tribes, how would one go about doing that? Just blindly stumble upon them? Or is there a regular meeting place they would go to, or a signal that they would answer to?
Well, if you build a signal fire, they might come, but they're just as likely to rob you as they are to talk to you. They listen to gold, and, depending on what you can offer them, they may not skin you alive.
So not friendly to outsiders, then?
Not friendly to non-orcs. Let's just say I'm a product of a birth that shouldn't have happened.
Oh dear.
Mm-hmm.
Very well.
All right.
But if you can appeal to their baser interests, or perhaps be willing to grease their palms with something akin to gold, they might be willing to list you.
How happy would they be to find out that there's someone trying to raise a demon prince in the middle of their forest?
Well, it would depend how it allies with their god's interests, Grummish. So, Grummish is like the orc god. Not a nice one either. So it would depend. Basically, they like going to war, but they also don't want to die either. So if you can appeal to them. There is a diplomacy option here, is what I'm trying to tell you, but it will be difficult.
Well, I was only the bodyguard of a diplomat, so
I'm looking at my list of spells, and my protection from evil and good spell will protect people from undead.
All right,
undead aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, and fiends.
Okay.
Will have a disadvantage on attack rolls, and you also can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed.
Okay. Mike, I'm looking at my character sheet. I've got a +4 to persuasion. Is there any way that I could parlay my experience as the bodyguard of a diplomat to maybe give that a boost?
Yeah, sure, but it's all up to you to role play that out. Just because you have the numbers, you got to convince me as your GM. Numbers are important, sure, but the more you role play, the more I'm likely to let shit happen.
Okay, all right, well...
And we'd have to find them first.
And you have to find them first, yes.
What could we offer them to make them more amenable?
I asked the half orc. Do the ruins have any significance to the orc tribes beyond a place of fear? Would it be a site that they might be willing to take over to use as like maybe a base or as a village?
He kind of takes a long, hard look at the deck of the ship, as you say. He goes, place of fear, definitely not. We would not want anything but the ruins to be collapsed and left to rot. Whatever ancient power grew there should be buried there.
If he's in these ruins, can we just collapse them on his head?
That might take care of Clovis, but not the demon prince. We need to put eyes on a corpse on that one. But if they want the ruins collapsed, if we promise to assist them with that, that might make them amenable to help us.
Also, you've got a paladin and a cleric. We should be able to help cleanse the place.
Okay. All right. So how about this? All right. Here's a plan that I'm forming in my head. We appeal to the orc tribes, tell them that in exchange for their assistance in clearing out, in fighting in distracting the undead army and allowing us a shot at the demon, we will cleanse and destroy the temple. You two can cleanse the temple, and then I can convince the dwarf laborers to come and help tear it down. And then
we're getting ahead of ourselves. Can a group of orcs take on these undead? Are they going to be best suited for it? Because otherwise we're just asking them to be a meat shield.
Well, we don't need them to win, we just need them to distract.
Right, but if a bunch of them are going to die because they are not the best people for the job, that would be bad. I'm not going to ask a group of people to throw themselves on spears for us.
Well, if we keep second-guessing ourselves, we're not going to get anywhere. But, I mean, right now, I don't see any better option.
The other option is we work our way around an army. We sneak past them. We stealth in. I feel like this whole, we have to find an orc army, convince them to come. They may kill us in the process because they don't want to do it. I really feel like this is going to be more time consuming, especially considering that we have just been told that we could get lost in there because it's a terrible place. I feel like the more variables we introduce to the scenario, the more likely it is to fail.
How about if we go to the wood and we do some scouting around the edges, see if we can pinpoint where this place is, how well defended it is. If we think we can sneak in, we do so. Otherwise, we go and find the orcs. The orcs are a backup plan. They are not going to be our first choice.
I feel like if we stumble across them, fine. But if we don't immediately find them, then it is just taking up more time in which we're losing ground here.
Yeah, I broadly agree.
All right, well, let's put it to a vote. All in favor of doing a scouting run, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, so it's unanimous. We're going to do an initial scouting run, and if we happen to run into the orc tribes, then we'll go from there.
All right, so as you have this meeting of the minds, Thera and the half-orc say, well, we'll be at the Cloakwood shore by morning. I'll have someone wake you up, pack you up with rations, and then, well, folks, you're on your own, because I'm not going in there.
All right.
Entirely fair.
Since we're going up against undeads and demons, is there any way that we might be able to bolster our weapons to give us a bit of an edge against undead foes?
We already have that. I have that, at least.
And I can give you protection against undead as well.
You can't give like my sword a temporary buff against undead.
We do not have access to that spell yet, because level 3.
Well, thought I'd ask. All right, well, I guess there's nothing for it but to just get some rest then.
All right, so you all rest below decks. The night passes relatively without incident. You hear some people having a drunken brawl at one point, but nothing that doesn't happen upon Thera's ship on the regular. So, the morning comes. You're awoken gently. And as you make your way up to the deck, it's a cloudy morning. There's a light rain in the air. And it's cold. Colder than normal, actually. So you get on board one of the rowboats and you're led to shore. The ferryman from Thera's boat wishes you luck, hands you a small bag with rations for at least the next 3 or 4 days. A map that the half-orc drew, what he remembers of the Cloakwood, the last he was here, but that was a number of years ago. And a small message that wishes you the best of luck, and best to avoid the war chief Bera if you happen to run across him.
Lord.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So you're standing on a beach. As you look up towards the beach, there's a thick, very lush, temperate forest. And you hear the regular sounds of nature, just the beach and birds chirping. And it's a nice beach. Just the weather's kind of shitty today.
All right. So how many days of rations do we have?
4.
Okay. So that's what they gave us?
Yes, unless you have more on your person, you have 4 days.
Okay, so that's 4 total then
Yes.
that they gave us. Okay, because I have an additional day in my inventory.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Plus you can hunt and trap if you so desire.
Okay. Well, I guess nothing for it but to go on into the woods. Are we near a viable road on the map?
Yep, you see a path that leads in. This has obviously been used by other people. And you don't know where it goes. The map shows it leading into the forest towards a presumed clearing. And that's where most people tend to set up camp if they tend to be coming from the water. So it's kind of a common area in the Cloakwood, not too far in. But obviously far enough away from the beaches where people wouldn't see your fire if they happen to be going by. So kind of like a smuggler's area.
Okay. All right, all in favor of following the road?
Yep.
Could we have in this time asked the half orc for a map, like for him to just tell us, sketch it out for us?
He did give us a map. He said it might have changed.
All right.
Since then.
All right. I was like managing my spells and then totally didn't listen to literally anything that was said for 5 minutes.
In that case, a meteor comes.
Oh god, this guy's really powerful. He's casting meteors.
All right, well then, in we go.
All right, so you start making your way through the forest. You're walking down the trail. Nothing out of the ordinary seems to happen, though. Everybody give me a perception check, which is intelligence, I believe.
Wisdom.
Wisdom, that's it.
Yep.
It's been a
mine
while.
sucks.
Let's see if I can roll above a 5.
All right, I'm gonna try my bronze Triforce dice.
That is technically above a 5.
Well, I just rolled a 7, so yeah.
That's what I just rolled.
Well, then the Hylian goddesses are with us because I just rolled a nat 20.
All right, then. So, Marcus,
I'm changing my dice for another D20. That one is clearly fucking evil.
As you start heading into the brush, you definitely have a feeling like you're being shadowed. Because for each step you take, you can almost hear an identical echo of your own step.
All right,
so
I
you definitely get the
for-
feeling you're being watched.
All right, so I signal our party to halt.
All right, you do.
Okay. Do I hear any last steps of the party following tailing us? Maybe they stumble or something as they come to a halt.
Yep, you hear a couple of twigs snap.
Do I hear what direction they're from?
You think it's coming from your left. You're pretty sure, not 100%, but pretty sure.
Okay. With a really low voice, I let my companions know, guys. I don't want to alarm you, but we're being followed. Off to our left, about how far, Mike?
You're guessing probably about 100 feet.
About 100 feet to our left.
As you look to your left, the brush is fairly thick. Like, the trees are pretty close together. And if you strain your eyes, you do see shadows and shapes back there. It could be trees, but it could also be something else. You're not 100% sure.
I have low light vision, so is there anything else I can see?
Well, since it's the middle of the day, nothing.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm gonna be loudly, slightly more loudly, as if to say, "Oh, what are we stopping for? Do you need to check the map?" Sort of.
Your role playing character is role playing.
Yes. Role playception.
Do you need to check the map? Why, yes, I do.
Roll a performance check.
No, but I do have some loose clasps on my armor that I need to adjust. Just give me a second, and I kind of make a play like my my armor's bugging me, but keeping my hands close to the hilt of my sword.
All right. So you check the map, adjust your armor, and
I want to look around at the vegetation, and see if there's any notable kind of vegetation that I think might be of interest.
You see some trees, you see some bushes. You don't see anything that totally stands out. Then again, you're not. Well, I guess you would be a herbologist, so
right.
You don't see anything too weird. Like, basically, it seems to jive with this area of the realm, so to speak. Everybody roll perception again.
Okay,
17.
Okay, so I'm slowly working my way up to double digits. I've got a 14.
I got 20. With my perception bonus, I got 21 on that. So.
All right,
I got a 17.
All right, so Alisaria, while you're checking the map, you notice just for a second, you look up and you see a pair of squirrels up in a tree, and that in itself isn't unusual. But there's a pair of them standing on a branch on a tree, and they're definitely looking at you.
Oh, I thought they were fucking. I thought that's where
Yes.
we were going with this.
Yes, bestiality.
Oh no, that would be a very different fucking of squirrels.
Yes.
Down chicka wow wow.
So yes, you
Out
notice
of,
these two squirrels.
out of character, Ratatosk, is that you?
So there's just a pair of squirrels acting very unusual.
I do actually have some animal handling, so may I roll that?
You may.
At 14.
Yeah, that's not normal for animals that are known to be timid and shy and, should act like friggin' squirrels. For them to just hang out in pairs and to be actively watching you, that's weird.
Okay, has she pointed this out to the rest of us yet?
Have you pointed this
know.
out to the rest of us yet?
I'm saying very slowly, it's like, can some of you pass me, break off some biscuit or something and crumple it up so I can offer it to squirrels? I have reasons.
Okay, I pull a biscuit out of my ration bag and pass it to her.
No need to have a reason. Squirrels are very cute.
Okay. So as you attempt to offer the crumbled up biscuit towards the squirrels look at each other, take off in opposite directions.
What do you think?
That was
Wizards
weird.
familiar?
Well, we were told that there were druids living in the forest. Maybe that's who's tailing us.
Could be.
Okay.
Well, not a huge amount we can do about it right now. Stay alert.
Had we heard if they were good druids or bad druids?
Nobody thought to ask.
Let's see
Druids
here
tend
now.
to be rather neutral.
I have
But, this place is weird.
I have a +4 to my history. Can I make a roll to see if I might know something about druidish behavior?
You can try, but they're typically neutral.
I was gonna say
They typically
like
don't
the
give
whole
shits
of
about
the
anybody
world.
else.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, if they're people of the forest, they might, they might leave us alone if they find out what we're doing, or even help us. So, I guess I'll. What can a roll hurt? I'll just make a roll here.
Yeah, go for it.
12 plus 4 is 16.
Okay, so in your trained opinion, druids are typically neutral. They don't like to get involved unless it directly involves their interests. Typically, their interest means protecting their forest, protecting their tribe or their circle. And it's not to say they don't become adventurers. Sometimes they do. But typically nature almost always comes first. So if you were to encounter a druid out here, they probably listen to you at the very least. They're not going to shoot you where you stand, but
Okay.
they will listen.
Can I try role playing an entreaty?
You'd have to find a druid first.
Yes, you can't just
Yeah,
say hello, druids.
We're being tailed, so someone's out there to hear us.
Then you
Yes.
got to do something like go approach where you think they are.
Go talk
Or
to a
I
tree.
can, or I
Or talk to a
can, I can shout and they can hear me and come out
Yeah,
and
You
meet
might
us.
also attract the attention of people we don't want
Yes.
to attract the attention of.
I-
I suggest we just keep going. If they want to approach us, that's fine. We will just make it clear that we'll do our best to respect the forest. Let's put it that way.
cut no living wood, take no flowers. All right,
Yeah, that's
All
all
right.
right.
let's resume our journey.
All right, so you begin to make your way further into the Cloakwood. You pass the area that's known as kind of the smugglers area. There are signs of a recent camp, probably a couple of days old. Doesn't seem to be anything unusual, just some bones left behind in a fire pit, a place that was obviously used to set up a tent. Maybe even a wagon was through here recently, but nothing that sticks out as totally unusual. From here, the map kind of points to an area known as the Bone Fields. And that's probably, you're guessing at least half a day in, but you're already a few hours in. So you could make it before dark towards the area-ish where this is, but on the map, it is noted, be extremely careful here. The terrain does change, and it's showing little circles and bumps. You see a line drawn on the map that says bog.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Do we want to risk it now, or wait until nightfall, or?
do we want to rest before we go into somewhere that's very dangerous? Or do we want to just track our way in? I mean, how far do we think we can go before we're going to have to rest? I mean, I don't want to have to sleep in the middle of the fucking place.
No.
I would say let's proceed in further for another few hours, but not actually enough to reach the bone field or the bog. And we'll break camp. We'll make camp right at sunset.
Sounds reasonable.
All right, so you continue trekking into the forest, and as you do, you notice things actually start to change. As you entered the Cloakwood, things were very green, very lively. You would see birds, you would hear squirrels, you would see flowers. As you get in, things start to get a little more dry, a little bit less lively, and as you approach sunset of this day, things become dry, brittle, and the sounds of the forest have almost entirely stopped. Echoes seem to carry unusual characteristics to them. Things just seem a little bit weird. Even the forest underfoot seems a little bit different. Less spongy, less alive, more hard, almost, to put a modern context on it, more like concrete.
Okay, Mike, can I roll a perception check to see if we're still being tailed?
Sure.
17.
You kind of stop and pause every so often just to see if you hear familiar sounds, and you do still hear them, not as often. As you stop and make your most recent attempt to discern this, things kind of take a weird turn. You start to hear a pair of birds calling to each other. And as you look up, you see a pair of crows situated not too far from each other. Definitely a stone's throw. They're not together, but they're within a stone's throw of each other, and they seem to be cawing back and forth.
Okay, I
Odin
tap.
is watching us.
I tap Alisaria on the shoulder and I point out the crows to her and say, "Does that look usual to you?"
It's not unusual, but considering that most of the birds have been left behind, this is a bit weird.
Yeah,
There's nothing for them. There's not lots for them to eat here. Why would they come this far out?
And this is the second time that it's been an animal that's been watching us. I'm thinking that our tail's a druid. This doesn't strike me as orc work.
They
druid.
could have a druid, yeah.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything to us yet, so is this where we're making camp?
I think we should probably camp here before things get too hostile.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know if there was some mine workings or something under here, but this land is getting deader.
All right. Well, let's make camp off the road, and be careful to cut no living wood. So
Yeah, there should be plenty of deadfall around here.
All right, so you begin to set up your camp as best you can as to not to disturb anything living, using deadfall and fallen trees, whatever you possibly can. And as you start to make camp, being careful not to make too much noise, a heaviness seems to come over your camp. And as the sun begins to set below the horizon, you notice that the forest seems to take on a darker tone. Darkness seems almost impenetrable beyond the fire light provided by your campfire. and you start to hear things out in the bush. You start to hear random twigs snapping. You can hear things moving around out there. The forest seems more alive now than it has throughout almost the entire day.
Okay, who wants to take first watch?
I will, because if the worst comes to worst, I'll just cast Sanctuary.
Okay.
All right, so Alisaria, as you take... I got your name right.
Hey.
Thank you to Gonzo for saying it a lot of times so I could pick up on it. So, as you begin your first watch, you notice your companions sleeping relatively soundly. You start to see something in the distance, just beyond the reach of the campfire. And you know how you can see the reflection of something in something's eyes. You just see that red for a second. You start to see that out in the bush more and more often. And the second you try and focus in on it, it disappears. And then you start to hear the wind pick up. And it's whipping through the trees, not as a gentle breeze, but a constant gust. You can start to hear the wood start to rattle. The tents start to kind of whip around a little bit, creating that sound. And then you start to see off in the distance these little wisps of light off in the distance. Almost like lanterns. So what are you going to do? They are fairly distant, but they are there.
He's beauty and he's grace.
Ah.
I can't do anything. I'm asleep.
Yeah. I'm going to say fairly quietly, if whoever is out there doesn't mean there's any harm, some indication would be nice. Otherwise, I'm going to draw my sword now.
Alright, so you draw your sword slowly, and just as your sword clears the sheath, the metal-on-metal sound just seems to echo unnaturally loudly in camp. And the flickers of light almost seem to double in number. And they start surrounding the camp. And you start hearing whispers coming from left and right of you. They're male, they're female, they're young, they're old. All sorts of voices, like a cacophony, just whispering to you, "Leave. Follow me. Don't worry. I'm right here. Don't let me die here. You're gonna die here." What do you do?
Oh, it's one of these sorts of kits.
Terrifying.
Now would probably a good time to wake us up.
Yeah. Go and take you all away. We appear to have company of a sort.
Immediately
Yeah.
drawing the mace.
I'm gonna draw my sword and keep in a ready stance, but I'm not gonna make any aggressive moves until I've got a clear idea of what's going on.
Let's see if I can do a thing. Because probably Skyblaze and I are going to both end up casting protection from evil and good at some point. I just
Actually, right now would be a good point to leave it as a cliffhanger, because we're at about the end of the first hour.
That's right. So what happens next as these folks are deep in the Cloakwood with no friends and whatever they have on them as resources? Well, we'll find out next week right here on Fools Who Ride the Dreamstone. I've been your game master for this episode, Mike the Birdman Dodd. I've been joined with
Dr. Gonzo?
the cat.
Skyblaze.
And of course, we'll see you guys next week, and may your rolls be always nat 20s.